organize myself a little bit over here. Gonna take the reverse of the Super Mario mushroom and and then go small. Okay, so what I have over here, I've got, this is actually a virtual machine that we're going to be using. I'm going to release a little course that's free and anyone can take it and just pay for VM credits, but it'll be the same machine. It'll have the challenges inside here. And we have from the other weeks over here, June 21st and 28th, there's some stuff inside there for you to go through. So this will go live soon. So you can see this is the VM that you'll actually be using yourself. Yes, Drew, I am sharing the screen. Let me know if you can see that. You should be able to take a look on the speaker corner. Can everyone else see my screen? That's the real question. Yes, okay, good. I thought all of that was for naught. Okay, so yeah, fair enough. The resolution kind of thing. All right. Well, I will, you know what I can do? Go into display settings over here. Maybe I can kick this up a notch. Advanced scaling. This might break things. I really hope it doesn't. Okay, it's not going to work because it's a VM and a remote connection. So maybe I can... No, it's not going to work either. Okay, well, we're not going to need that too much soon. Oh, wow. I don't know what that just did. That's why I was kind of concerned about doing that. So, yeah, that's basically what I did. All right, how do I get out of that magnifying glass? Oh, okay. It's like a slow magnifying glass. This is going to be kind of rough. That's too much. This is not going to work out too well. Okay. All right, well, I'll kind of explain what I'm doing along the way. And I know that we're doing this in Discord, so there's a bit of a buffering thing that can happen with the VM, but the final video does load clearly. So let's kick into it. What we've got here first, so this is a user that has downloaded Spotify. They want to install Spotify at this point in time. So this is kind of common in networks. Users want to get their own applications installed, and they're going to go ahead and they're going to do it. And we're going to kind of move past the stage where they have accepted the prompt and whatnot. But they're going to run it, and they're going to try to install this application. And clearly it's not Spotify after they've ran it, so that's kind of an issue. Don't know what's happening, but this is when the user typically will freak out. So something was installed and they don't know what actually happened. Kind of a concern. The user's probably not going to notice a lot at this point. They're going to kind of move on about their day, and that's that. But something is going to pop up. And this is a little bit of a crafty malware over here that made by yours truly over here at Level Effect. So this user's getting rickrolled right now. And this is when they really freak out. This is when they call IT and they're like, oh my God, I clicked on something I shouldn't have, or I downloaded something. So we're going to respond to this. This user has now been compromised, this workstation. So now we're IT, we're security, we're going to go inside and try to figure out what happened. And we've got some tools on the endpoint. We cover these inside of the Windows Triage side of things in the fundamentals course. We're going to start off because we have a process running. There's network activity, but we need to build out our, just kind of pause that. There we go. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to actually open up Notepad++, and I'm going to start responding to this and take notes as I go. I want to start building out what I want to do, and I'm pretty sure I can zoom in here. That should make it a little bit easier. Okay, so we're going to look at 3 things. Let's give a good zoom in. Control mouse wheel up. Make sure this actually works. It's always kind of shifty inside of a VM. There we go. Okay. 3 things. 2, Windows, if I can type that, Windows, Triage, defer. So defer for all the new students in the room, defer, digital forensics, and incident response. Triage. So you can see this thing's going to keep on going, isn't it? So this user's really getting rickrolled right now. we're going to respond to that in a moment. But a triage is essentially, if you're a cybersecurity analyst, if you're working in the field, even if you're in IT, you need to triage a situation. And that's to get a sense of how urgent whatever it is you're dealing with is. Like, do you need to act on it right away? Is it critical? Is it taking down mission critical machines? Can the user do their work, etc.? You need to triage a situation to determine how you need to respond to it and how we can get it back to a level of normal operation. And if you can't, then that's when you escalate it. So that might actually be part of this process, what we're going to do to our machine today. So there's 3 things that we need to look for. The first thing is persistence, and this is what we talk about inside the course and our training. This is kind of what we advocate a lot over here at Level Effect. That's going to keep on going. I should have maybe timed that a little bit slower. And we got networking. Let's just mute that too. So we have persistence, process, and networking. It's kind of the 3 core areas that we're looking at over here for a response to an incident, especially when it comes to Windows. And whatever malicious activity or malware we have in the host is going to be coming to us and in those 3 ways. And typically persistence is normally the easiest form. And that's where we can track down right away, like, where is this coming from? Is this a scheduled task? Is this a script as a process running? Is it a new process, like a new binary that's running currently in the background? We don't know. So what we need to do is determine where it's currently living on the box. And the persistent side of things is where we want to target to get rid of it completely or prevent it from coming back. And it might come back on a boot, but we'll find that out along the way. Now, the process side is what we're dealing with right now. So this is it, like the Rick rolling us process that is executing and opening up a YouTube video every minute, maybe at this point. That's the process we need to figure out and identify and stop and prevent it from coming back. And to prevent it from coming back, we're going to have to find out where it's actually living. So where is that persistence mechanism? Where is it hooked in? So what is currently running? And then the networking side is probably the most revealing. If this is malware that is moving along the wire, it's moving from endpoint to endpoint, the networking component is harder for malware to hide from, because when it's going through the TCP/IP protocol, that stack, there's very little wiggle room of what you can do to hide your behavior. You typically have to put transmission traffic through different protocols and such, and it's always going to be following that model. But if you look at like Windows logs or Linux logs or other embedded systems, ARM processors and stuff with different types of operating systems, the thing is they're going to look different in all those systems. Like the way the activity is looking, it's going to look different. Different event logs, different event IDs, different ways the logs are formatted and shaped. But networking is going to give us the most accurate portrayal of what the malware is trying to do. And typically that's going to be some form of maybe C2, command and control traffic, or maybe it's going to be exfiltrating data. But that's sort of like the action on objectives, like where the malware is trying to get to and what it's trying to do. So what we want to do is ideally look for the persistence activity first. That should be the easiest. And what we can do, going back to our training or experience, is we've got the sysinternals tools that could really help us out at this level of the game. So we've actually got a nice nifty tool called Autoruns. And Autoruns is going to go and hopefully tell us where this video keeps spawning from at this point in time. So we covered a little bit of this actually the previous week prior, but the recording didn't work too well. So I'm going to go through it again and talk a little bit about what we're seeing here. And we're seeing essentially all the various ways that a process or binary could be executed or service during an event. Typically on startup is what we're looking for, or scheduled tasks, or triggering through other processes. So if we look through here, this is the everything tab. It's got a whole bunch of activity going on. The logon tab is something we want to go to maybe more, it's a little bit more pertinent because that's when a user could log in and it'll trigger and it'll fire on one of these registry keys. And the registry keys, like these run keys, will fire on boot when the current user logs in. And we don't see that here. So like we would normally see something like a run or like a run or like an auto run. Let me just close that for a second. But we don't see that over here. What we're seeing at this point in time is typical Microsoft installed things. And to make our investigation a little bit easier, we can actually hide Microsoft entries. And we can see that there's a command process. It looks like it's trusted, right? It's verified. That's what I'm looking at in this column right over here. So we have a verified publisher of Microsoft Windows. Now, that may very well not be the case, but when we're doing this type of investigation, we want to look for the low-hanging fruit first and kind of go through this activity. We can see an Explorer. There's 7-zip. It's probably normal. That's just a regular type of, I would say more of an advanced type of unzip and decompression tool. Nothing on the Internet Explorer side, scheduled tasks. So here is another place where things can hide. And in this case, if we kind of make a quick analysis of this, we're going to get interrupted a lot. This is some nasty malware over here. So nothing really out of the ordinary in the first three. There might be something on the Microsoft unverified side of things, but this is Windows media sharing. This could be something that was installed locally. We don't know. But if we look down here, this is how the binary is actually executed. And that may be something to investigate. We can maybe come back to that. I guess we'll find out. Services side. So nothing going on over here from services. There's a couple weird things, again, not verified by Microsoft. We can come back to that. This is that media player again. Windows Defender. Threat protection says not verified, some type of sense tool. That's unusual, but I can say in this case is a virtual machine for sake of time. That's just kind of part of the configuration, that we do have some things disabled, and it's nothing to worry about at this time. Drivers. What we're looking for is something clearly standing out with maybe a command line being executed, and we're not seeing that at this point in time. So from an Autoruns perspective, at least from a quick cursory glance, no visible Autoruns determined at this time. Let's move on. So when we have the process running, we can use a tool over here called Process Explorer. So let's go and open that up. That's going to be called ProcXP, just short form. And this is a really handy tool, quite advanced. This is like Task Manager on steroids. It's like the super Task Manager. This lets us see everything that's going on at a process level inside of the box, along with a lot of additional really important information. So there's our MS Edge process here happening in the background. I'm actually going to close a bunch of these, speed things up a little bit, but I'm going to leave it running because I don't know what could happen. And we can see MS Edge is down here. And if we actually open that up, we can double click it. And what's great about Process Explorer is we actually get a lot more information about the back end of what it's calling. So there is reference to DLLs, so dynamic link libraries. That's just like shared modular code that Windows software can use and share amongst one another. So this is common to see for those that are new in the audience. This is going to be really overwhelming at first. So I'll kind of come back to that. But in the meantime, what we can do is kind of look at it at a cursory level and see that it doesn't actually have a parent process. And in Windows, when we're looking at, we should typically see a parent process and a child process and so forth. Like if you look over here at Explorer.exe and Notepad++, if I open that up, we're actually going to see that it's the parent here is Explorer.exe. And the PID, so this process ID is 5264. And that's Explorer.exe. If I can kind of bring that right down, that number right above, 5264, is the PID for Explorer.exe. That's normal. This is not normal. MS Edge should have a parent process. So at this point in time, we can maybe say, you know, MS Edge is opening and then orphaned. No parent process after execution. So there's some type of intermediate step, because there has to be. There's no reason why Windows would open up something and then just abandon it like that. So some intermediate step involved. That should help us start getting the investigation along the way. What we want to determine is what is happening between Explorer.exe and MS Edge in that time frame that is executing it and then disappearing. And I'm not sure if you just caught that real quick, but it looked like there was a command console, like a CMD process that popped up. I saw a little black box. It's very possible. And the cool thing about Process Explorer is we can actually go inside here and we can pause it. If I hit the space bar, on the bottom you're going to see paused. And I can hit it again and it will resume. Now, what I could do is I can maybe try and catch that event that's happening. It looks like it's every minute, but I don't know. So maybe I can wait here for a moment, and while that's happening, I can even turn over to chat and see, what do you guys think is happening at this point in time? I kind of set up the stage. What are your thoughts? I'd be kind of curious. And if you're not actively listening to the investigation, that's cool too. But curious what you think. If there's no parent process involved, edge is spawning. It looked like a CMD that I think I just missed. What do you think is actually happening at this point in time? See someone typing, thinking. Okay, cool. Multiple people thinking now. Okay. No idea. That's fine. All good. All good. Got another chat member thinking. Cool. Okay. While you're thinking, I'm going to see if I can catch this along the way. There should be something popping. Not popping. There should be something popping, which is, I guess, opening and popping together becomes popping. But something. Okay, there it was, and I missed it. But let's see if I hit pause. I just missed it, but you could see real briefly that there was a CMD process that opened up. It turned green and then turned red on exit. So let's go and kill that a little bit. It looks like it's going to keep doing that and changing the window, and I'm probably not going to be able to catch it in time. Yeah, so chat, definitely it's malicious. It looks like it's just trying to troll the user this time, right? Maybe? Don't know. Maybe there's a keylogger happening. Maybe there's something that's enumerating the system and then trying to send it out. I don't know, but there's something that's taking our attention away. It could just be trolling, which wouldn't be beyond level effect malware or our CTF currently happening. So, okay, at this point, there is something happening there. What we could do, maybe we could go ahead and try to kill that process. So let's just go ahead and do that. There's no scheduled task. Hold on a second there. It looks like it opened up right away when I tried to kill it. Let's try that one more time. Access is... Oh, wait, hold on a second. I've got... So, wait, that's weird. So I tried to kill the process, and it didn't actually let me do it. It said access is denied. So hold on a second here. I can't actually kill it. And now it's actually killed. Okay, so that was kind of weird because I'm actually in administrator mode over here for Process Explorer. And the reason I was trying to highlight that because that seems strange. Don't know. Maybe there was just something kind of bottlenecking right there. But that's weird. I should have been able to just kill it right away. It didn't like that, whatever happened. And that's why you have to be kind of careful with closing and terminating things. Okay, so that popped up again. I'm probably not going to be able to catch it like this. So there is something that we actually can do. And there's something called ProcMon or Process Monitor. And this is another tool inside of the sysinternals toolkit. We need to go and see what we can figure out over here. So continues to open and too difficult to catch within ProcXP. From a pause start. It's not scheduled. No auto run. So this is different. This is a little bit more advanced. This is not something like a script running. So what can we do over here? If I open up Process Monitor, Process Monitor is a really powerful tool because it actually gives us a live play-by-play event capture of everything happening in the system, which is a lot. And we need to apply filters. Like if I look on the bottom, there's over 300,000 events happening right now. That's a ton of information. So what we can do is we can actually go inside of here and hit clear, get rid of all that stuff. I'm going to go inside a filter, and what I want to do is use these possible events that I can work with. And I want to go ahead and say maybe like process name is msedge.exe. So if I hit add, that's going to add it to our filter. And if I hit apply and press OK, here we go. So this is everything, and I'm going to clear that right away. These are all the events related to MS Edge at this point in time. And ideally what we're looking for is like a start process type of event with this. So what we have two, okay, so there's another one. Let's scroll down. So chat's asking about Process Explorer gives more detail than Process Monitor. It's not, I wouldn't say that it gives more detail, and they're kind of two different tools. They do two different things. Process Monitor is a much more detailed task manager. And Process Monitor is literally just an event capture of everything happening inside the system at this point in time. So I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to terminate the current edge process because it's getting a lot of noise. And then I'm going to clear, and maybe we can redo this. Maybe I can find out what's actually happening inside here. Let's let that kick off one more time. Yeah, James, I'm pretty sure it is, but I wanted to be sure. Yeah, so it's a good question. It's a good question over there. So yeah, we saw CMD. Like if I was an advanced user, yes, but I'm trying to capture a little bit of all audiences over here. If I wasn't sure what to do, if I knew that CMD popped up from that terminal, I could make a pretty good judgment call, but we can go more on an investigative path and determine exactly where MS Edge is being called from. And we know that MS Edge is running. We're not sure, but we think CMD is running before it. What we can do is actually filter for MS Edge process name. And then eventually when it starts, we'll get a process start event. And this is what we're looking for. This activity over here is actually coming from the command line. So it says command line, program files, x86, Microsoft Edge. So the command line is opening up MS Edge. And it's actually giving us a PID of 6456, which we've determined is gone. Like it does terminate. So it's no longer there. So we're not going to be able to find it by the PID. Now we can go to the next step. And for the newcomer in chat, this is FAQing Friday. This is where we do live events. Right now we're in the Windows SOC triage kind of series, where we're going to be doing a little bit of Windows triage and digital forensics and incident response on a malicious attack. That's what we're doing. So we're kind of triaging a compromised host right now. I'm kind of walking through the process. So what we can do is update. Yeah, they are recorded too, so you can watch them afterwards. We kind of just do them live so we have the interactive chat as well too. Kind of like a Twitch stream. Okay, so command line argument opens MS Edge. So what we can do, this is where we can actually go back, and let's clear that. Let's open this back up and say, I'm going to go inside of here. And I'm going to change this to cmd.exe. Okay, let's add that back in. Apply. Okay, cool. Let's go. That's a lot of CMD activity, so hold on. Wait, I saw that real quick. I was just going to kind of clear this and redo it, but I did see a process start event kind of near the top. Process start. Here we go. Okay. So right at the top, this is actually what is opening up the Edge browser right now. I put inside a chat yesterday, recorded. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and you just kind of restart from the beginning. Yeah. All good. Okay, so what we've determined now is we're getting rickrolled by malware that we've executed. There's no scheduled task. There's no auto run. There's nothing indicating that there's a PowerShell script. There's nothing else running that's triggering it at this point in time that we've been able to determine, other than a CMD window that opens up, which we're about to determine has a PID of 5264, because MS Edge is opening up with an orphaned parent process. It's actually terminated right away, which is the CMD process that we've been able to discover at this point. So it opens up and it closes, and it runs with the command of start Microsoft Edge, open up YouTube, go to the rickroll video, and troll us. So that's what's happening inside of this window. We're getting trolled what looks like every minute or so. And if we look at 5264 and go back inside of Process Explorer, that's actually the PID for Explorer.exe. So, and there it was. There. I think I almost captured it. So CMD is spawning from Explorer.exe. It's happening within the GUI, within the desktop right now, within the window manager. Fires up Edge. So we've been able to determine that, and then it just orphans itself, and then it's kind of floating on the side. That's not normal, but there's no scheduled task, and there's no process that's running, and there's no service that's running that's doing it. So we're kind of zeroing in on where we need to go. Okay, so cmd.exe spawns from Explorer.exe and then terminates. No other indicators at this time. So we're kind of working through the analysis triad. We're trying to kind of work through this. So what we can do, let's see chat typing over there. I'll give you a moment. If you have any questions, or if anyone wants to take a stab at where this is going, please feel free. But I think we're getting closer to something. There's only so many ways that a process could be doing what it's doing within Windows. Give you guys a moment. Just making sure my OBS is still recording. Cool. Yeah, good. Oh, yeah. Terminates. Oh man. Any of the first real 3 Star Wars. The rest are debatable. I mean, young Anakin was good too, but the rest are definitely debatable. Anyways, okay, so at this point we've got some advanced malicious activity. Dark mode request on so I'm one of those crazy people that actually does everything in light mode. Yes, I know, I'm insane. So yeah. Yep. Okay. So let's go ahead and try to dig more into this. We know that it's coming from Explorer.exe. Let's go and let's figure out what's happening. So we've got the ability to kind of monitor the Explorer.exe process, and there's some things we look at. This starts to get a little bit more advanced for the newcomers in the room, so I'll kind of talk a little bit about what I'm doing along the way, so you can at least, at like a natural language approach, understand and take something away from this. So what we're trying to do now is determine where within the Explorer.exe process it's actually executing the CMD event, because it is coming from there. And if we actually go over to our threads and let that load, well, pause that in the background. I'm going to terminate some of those. What we're seeing over here is essentially the various threads that execute off of Explorer.exe and pull in all of those DLL files. And those DLL files contain that shared code that we talked about that can do things and interact with the system. So at this point in time, it's probably safe to say that there is a thread here, we don't know which, but there is a thread that is executing and doing something to interact with CMD and call MS Edge at this point. Now, there is a bunch of DLLs. I don't see any EXEs, and maybe I can catch one that opens up. It's probably going to be kind of hard to do this. So we can maybe go back. It's just going to keep on trolling me over there. So let's go back inside DLLs. Maybe kind of take a poke around there. Jeez, that thing is taking a while to... I think we've hit like memory capacity or something. Too much going on in that VM. Okay, just give that a second. I think all the videos are playing too much at once, and so it's just going crazy. Bear with me. Rick Astley's having a good time with level effect right now. Okay. I'm just going to terminate this thing. Jeez. It's going to come back, but it's fine. It's definitely doing its job of trolling. Okay, cool. Let's go back to Explorer.exe. It looks like it's stabilizing now a little bit. We want to go to threads, like I said. There is some type of thread that is being called here. You can see like CPU cycles increase. And what's happening here is something is being called, maybe one of these system DLL files to execute CMD. That's my take on it at this point in time. And if I actually open up the stack, we can sort of see what happened from bottom top and what's most recent. And these are all, like I know looking at these that these are normal DLLs. Now, if you're new and you're not sure, you'd have to do some research and get more exposure. But there's nothing unusual about what I'm seeing. I'm seeing normal stack calls, normal DLL calls, which is saying Explorer.exe is doing the things that it's supposed to do, calling the processes that it needs, and using the code that it needs to do its thing. So the problem is, if everything looks normal, why is this still happening? And this is where I'm actually going to go, and I want to move back out from Process Explorer because ProcMon is where we want to go. We want to get back inside of ProcMon. And what I want to actually do is I want to go and look for thread create events because it's too hard to catch what's going on there, and I don't get enough information on each individual thread. And you saw, like, trying to sift through that's going to take too much time. So if I go inside of here, and let's remove this, and we can actually go to operation-based events out of ProcMon, and let's say is, you can see there's everything here that we need to know. So as you learn more, you can find any event you need within inside of Windows related to a process or DLL or some type of activity. And this is where when you get more advanced with cybersecurity and start getting better with maybe going to the detection engineering route, you can start figuring out what these system calls are doing and what they're happening. And then you can build detection logic based on those events. And that's where you get really, really good advanced endpoint security based on event activity and not just signatures. Because if event activity is something you can capture on like this, we don't need to worry about the signature of the malware. We'll always be able to prevent that type of event activity. So let's close that. I might have to just like stop talking for a moment because every time I do, I just get destroyed with videos. Come on. There we go. Okay. So let's go back. And I want to say operation is, and we know it's a thread. So a thread, where is it? Operation is thread create, I think. Yeah, thread create. So hit apply. Okay, so this is all of the thread activity happening right now inside of our workstation, which is too much. This is impossible for us to actually sift through. So what do we need to do here? We need to go and filter this a little bit more. We know it's coming from Explorer.exe, so we're going to go and say process name is Explorer.exe. We're going to add two filters. Thread create events and Explorer.exe is the process name. So this is cool. So this is what I think we're looking for. If I were to go inside, open this up, let's look at all these like individual things. Again, this is that stack that I mentioned. And that gets a little bit more advanced. But we looked at it and we were able to determine I think we could rename Edge, but I don't know if we need to. That might kind of break the system a little bit further. There is something that we can do, and as soon as I get rid of that video, okay, we haven't been able to figure out the persistence mechanism of things. So even if we were able to disable something like Edge, not sure the origin at this time. So let's take a look inside of the process itself, one of these weird threads going on. And what I want to do is I'm trying to figure out if there's some type of weird activity happening over here. And if I go to path, I should be seeing system32 DLLs. So you're asking, when you're analyzing stuff, you aren't necessarily looking to make... Yeah, I'm not looking to make it stop. I am trying to work with the malware, and I'm trying not to tamper with it too much. Like, I haven't even actually ran the malware again because I don't want to yet. I want to just let it do its thing while I'm in this sort of like containment mode. Imagine that I'm inside of like a quarantine VM or a quarantine endpoint at this point in time, and I want to work with the malware and identify and track it down while it's doing its thing so that I don't interrupt it. Because if I do, then I might not be able to determine the source properly. So while we're getting trolled, which is obviously annoying, that definitely seems the point of this malware, we did have something over here. I saw that pop up. Oh no. No, I don't want to expand the video. Jeez. Okay, bear with me. This VM is just getting destroyed right now. So any.run, that's a good suggestion from chat. Yes. That would be good to run it through, take the binary and put it inside there of a sandbox after we've been able to contain it to get a better idea of what's actually happening. I just need to kill some of these videos over here. I probably should have made this malware to have like a couple minute time span so that this is just like getting unwieldy at this point in time. All right, there we go. That's better. I'm going to go inside of ProcXP and I'm actually going to kill that because it's just taking up too much bandwidth. So yeah, you should use any.run chat, and messages coming up over there. Any.run is amazing. It's actually, we did it 2 weeks ago. You can put the malware through it. You can watch what it's doing. It'll actually execute for you. Nasty thing. Okay, let's kill that again. Let's go back inside of ProcMon. So what I did over here is I actually opened up the process, the thread that's been executed by Explorer.exe. And I changed the path over here because these are all system32 types of DLLs. These are trusted DLLs. So I wanted to filter by ones that are uncommon, and something jumped out at me right away. And I'm seeing program data crypt32win.dll. So right away, if you've been in the field, if you've been studying IT and cybersecurity, you should know that your DLLs shouldn't be belonging inside of program data. They shouldn't be in other weird folders either, unless they're from the original application, which is trusted. But if they're in a weird or unknown or abnormal location like this, that should jump out at you as something suspicious. And what I would say at this point in time is we're actually dealing with a DLL injection type of attack. So it's actually kind of bad. Explorer.exe was hijacked after we ran the Spotify installer, and it actually injected a crypt32win.dll file into it, and I can probably verify that. Let's go back inside of Explorer.exe. It's probably not just a single thread. If I look at the DLLs, let's go and filter by the path. Here it is. So we can see Explorer.exe is running with crypt32win.dll. Now we've been able to determine, kind of going through and tracing the malware as it's doing its thing, what's actually happened here. Spotify installer ran and it injected crypt32win.dll, and right after it did that, we saw cmd.exe spawn from Explorer.exe as a child process, terminate itself, and then it orphaned an MS Edge process that's running and opening up the Rickroll video every single minute, it looks like. There it is, right on cue. Nice, good job, malware. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. Now, what can we do? Well, what we can do is we can go back, and this is where we can maybe do some of that sandbox environment. And let's create a filter over here. And just to be sure we know what Spotify installer is doing, I'm going to go and reset this, and I'm going to go to process name is Spotify installer.exe, where we ran it from. Hit apply. And I'm going to go run it again because we've sort of hit an end. Like we know there was a DLL injection, and there's two things we can do right now. Is we can reboot, which we probably shouldn't, because that would kind of reinstantiate everything. Or we can try to resimulate what happened through the events. So we can run it again because we ran it and it seemed to be just fine. And we're in a bit of a sandbox environment. See, I ran that, and let's go back inside of ProcMon. So process start, thread create, load image. So you can see there is some permission activity happening over here. This is where the DLL injection actually happens, but I want to do a search and see if we can find crypt, what was it, crypt32 when? .dll? Is it here? Spotify installer, so it actually created the file. So that's suspicious. Because the question is, how did it get on the box? And this is actually inside of program data crypt32 win. So let's open that up. Program data. Here it is. So here's the DLL that was actually created. It looks like file create happened. So that is strange. Now, we know that it's injecting the DLL inside of Explorer.exe. So we could go a little... We could kind of shoot from the hip over here and try to do something that I think might work to make our lives easier. I'm actually going to go inside a task manager, which is a little bit more familiar with some of the students side here. And I'm going to go and I'm actually going to kill Explorer.exe. So Explorer.exe is gone. And the reason why I'm doing that is because now I know that I've taken the DLL out from it. And if I go inside and run a new task, and I'm going to actually bring Explorer.exe back. And if you are a little bit as old as I am, I guess, growing up, it's kind of, you probably restarted Explorer.exe many times when like a game didn't work properly or something like kind of bottlenecked it. So you kind of know that you could do something like that, but if you didn't know as a user, you could sort of make a judgment call at this point in time that when you ran the Spotify installer, that's when a DLL injection happened, you found it on disk, you can try and recreate the event. And if I look at this right now, yeah, the panic, I know, right? Sometimes it doesn't come up. So I don't see any more Rick roll videos. So if I go to Explorer.exe and I go inside of DLLs, it's not here. And we know there's no scheduled task. We know there's no service. We know there's no script or process running. There's nothing else that would have called it. So we know that there's no actual persistence mechanism. We know that it only persists once we run the Spotify installer. And that's how you can make a better judgment call too, that you could actually go and just kill Explorer.exe. So we've actually triaged the workstation now and kind of brought it back to a state where we can go and do some more advanced investigation. But the problem is, where did it get the DLL from? That's what I want to know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside here, and I'm actually just going to go change that because it's not needed right now. I'm going to go and quarantine that file. And let's go back and update our notes. So Spotify installer creates the DLL, injects it into Explorer.exe, and remains, doesn't persist on boot, because if it restarted, we would have seen like a run key or something. We've been able to determine it's not going to come back on boot. Doesn't persist on boot or Explorer.exe restart. So we've been able to confirm the persistence. We've been able to confirm the process activity. The thing that we don't have at this point in time is networking, and that's that core Analyst, triad. That's what we're looking for. Is there's 3 things we need to be able to determine with any type of incident or event or compromise. Is where's the persistence mechanism, where's the process activity, and what level of networking is involved. Because right now we're saying we run Spotify installer and it creates a DLL, and it may very well do that, but is it downloading it from somewhere? Or is it exfiltrating anything? That's what we need to be able to determine. And for that, we can maybe open up like TCPview. This is another tool inside of the Sysinternals toolkit to give us a better idea about what is happening with network sockets and connections on our endpoint. Cool. So we can leave that running, and we've got ProcMon. Where's ProcMon? I'm going to go and I'm going to filter this a little bit further and say operation is... Yeah, it's not really gone yet. I mean, it's gone for now, chat. It's still on the box, but there's no further evidence that we're going to be more compromised. What I want to do is I want to filter for TCP activity with the Spotify installer binary. So maybe TCP connect, disconnect, other. There's a bunch of TCP activity that we can look at. Reconnect, retransmit. Did I add it? I think I did. TCP send. I just want to kind of throw them all inside there. Find out what's going on. Just to be sure. I think I got them all. Okay, so nothing at this time. We've got our TCPview up and running. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to recreate the initial compromise. Go back to downloads. And I'm going to run this. And what I want to do is I want to look at TCPview as I run it. So I actually didn't catch anything there, which is interesting. Unless it wasn't updating fast enough. Let's look inside of ProcMon. Okay, yeah. There you go. Spotify installer, TCP connect. TCP receive. TCP disconnect. So here is the actual... This is the event. This is what happens. Here you go. It's actually connecting out. It's not going to give me the whole thing. That's so annoying. Here's the event. It's actually dialing out to an S3 bucket. Let's look at the full path. That's kind of why I was hoping to connect to it from TCPview, but it looks like, and now it's actually back inside of the process, which is kind of annoying. So it is actually dialing out, and it's downloading the malware from another location. That is not ideal. And it looks like TCPview wasn't fast enough to catch it either, to get the full path, which is kind of annoying. Let's filter that back up the other way. Spotify installer.exe. Let's try that. And I'm going to go to view, update speed. Let's make that 1 second. And let's go inside of here. It's all good, multitasking. And let's go and redo this whole incident. Let's see if we can catch it this time. No, it's not actually catching it at all. Interesting. I wonder why. I'm trying to get the actual destination. It very well could be. If I go inside of here, program data, because it looked like it downloaded again. Let's delete that. Oh yeah, because it's actually being used now too. We're gonna have to keep killing it. My guess is what's happening here is it's looking for the file and then it exits. It doesn't actually download it because we would have seen the TCP transmission every single time. So what we can do is open up our old friend task manager and that process, and let's do it again. Yeah, like you can see there were no other TCP events even when I kept running it over and over and over again. So we're gonna have to kind of hope that we can catch it. And if not, you would honestly just have to kind of keep repeating that until you could really catch it. Or if you want to get more advanced, which we're not going to get into today, that's when you get into more of the debugging, reverse engineering, kind of decompiling the binary a little bit further. So let's see if we can actually catch it, because that would be ideal. All we know is it's going to this path, and we're not getting the info that we need. So let's go back inside of TCPview. And I'm going to try to resolve addresses. Let's see if we can catch it. That's the plan. Let's delete that because we know that we exited out from Explorer.exe. Go to downloads and let's try to run it one more time. No, we're not going to catch it that way. Unfortunately, it's probably going through another process, which there's a lot of remote addresses going on over here. So what we can do this time is there's a couple things. If we really wanted to, we could stay here and we could keep going through. We kind of keep trying to capture the right event. It is already one. So I think what I am going to do is just say at this point in time, we've captured the, okay. So we have the binary Spotify installer.exe. Jeez. Oh, come on. It actually ran it, didn't it? Downloads the malicious DLL and injects it into Explorer.exe. No further. Oh, man. Okay. Don't know why I lost my my old thing over there. Okay, so Spotify installer injects the DLL after it downloads from an S3 bucket. Have a partial path. Further investigation to get the actual IP address acquired while working in between Rick rolls and a VM that creates lag. Okay, so we could go a little bit. I mean, you can kind of keep doing this and just kind of keep finding the right ProcMon event that might actually yield information that we're looking for. Unfortunately, it looks like it cuts off the path, and there's probably going to be an event over here that we can capture the right one. However, like I said, we've kind of gone a little bit further, and we know at this point in time, I think we've got everything we need at investigation. You could probably go and take this to further forensics now and continue to investigate the box and break down the binary and figure out the code, etc. But it's safe to say we've done what we kind of set out here to do. And so the FAQing Friday series at this point in time, what we're trying to do is get you used to that initial kind of SOC triage tool set. So as a SOC analyst, if you're like a tier 1 kind of going to tier 2, this is sort of the level where you want to be able to work at. You want to be able to use these internal tools to identify where the persistence mechanism is happening from, where the process activity is coming from, and if there's any network activity involved. And if you were a SOC analyst being able to do this type of triage, you've done your job. Like, you've been able to triage the compromised endpoint, you've tracked it down, You remove the persistence mechanism, you know how to recreate the incident. Now you would sort of take it and escalate it and do further forensics later and figure out exactly where this thing is coming from. This is actually where you could go ahead and do something like any.run. I don't have my account logged in, so kind of take too much time to go back and forth. But now you can go to any.run and you could go and take that binary, put it through there, and watch the network requests come in. And that would actually probably be a better job at capturing the full path, because it is getting cut off this point in time. And my worry is I think a lot of it is going to be cut off in the various events that we can capture, just based off of what we're seeing with that very, very long URL. So cool. We've been able to triage Explorer.exe. So I'm going to go ahead inside of here and I'm going to kill it again. I'm going to take the DLL out. And then I'm going to run it again. Cool. And then we've got our data over here for further investigation. Program data. We have our DLL, we have a quarantine version of it, and we have the download that we can do further investigation. So nice. I'll kind of cut it off over there. But at this point in time, we've been able to effectively do what we've set out to do. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I am going to cut off the recording over here so we can go over to the sprawl and kind of hang out and just kind of chat and talk about anything and everything off cam. But thank you for attending another FAQing Friday. Thank you for spending as much time with me. I think we've gone on for like 40, almost an hour over here. So I appreciate everyone sticking around and spending time. We could take this for further forensics, and maybe we'll even do that. Maybe on a follow-up FAQing Friday episode, we can continue and work with the rest of the investigation, maybe do some more advanced forensics, come back to this at a later time after we've completed the initial SOC triage series. So thank you again for attending and sticking around. There's a good amount of you left on the audience, so fantastic. Thank you for joining us here at Level Effect for another FAQing Friday.